Good evening, everybody. I think we are live. I'll just double check as and when it comes onto the phone just to make sure that it's going out live, and then we'll get started straight away. I'm a bit gruff. I've had flu for over a week, so I'm feeling a bit tender. Thankfully, I've been tested and it's not COVID, which is absolutely wonderful news. But anyway, so just checking the phone. The goal for tonight is to give you some food for thought on creating innovative ways to relate to your audience, whether you're an affiliate marketer, network marketer, any kind of business, to be honest. If you are in the marketing space, then you should be able to use what I'm talking about now. Turn the volume down on that to resonate with your audience. And tonight's all about perception, actually, because perception is everything. Perception is reality, to be honest. And I just wanted to go over how to resonate better with your audience by using perceptions. And it's interesting because last weekend I went to a party for a friend's 50th, and it was old school friends. And interestingly, I was just about to leave actually, and I hadn't seen one of the guys for many years. And he pointed, and I waved because I'd realised who it was. So I went over to see him, and he said, "You know what? I've just said to my wife that." That guy over there was the heartthrob at school, and he meant me. And I was just totally blown away because at school, I just never thought of me being that. And that's a perception, isn't it? And that's a perception I had of myself. So interestingly, what other people's perceptions are and how they sometimes don't match up with our own perception. So that was an interesting story that I found out. So yourself, what's your self image and the perception of yourself, your health, your fitness, your wealth, your relationships, all of that, because it might be completely different to how your audience perceives you and the people that are seeing whatever you're putting out there in content videos like this, in your emails, in your marketing. It doesn't really matter, but what is the perception of each of those things by yourself? Because your health, your wealth, your relationships, and your fitness all relate to how you come across as a person as well for your audience. And we all make judgments, don't we? And it doesn't have to necessarily be a negative connotation when we talk about making judgments about other people, because my friend Lee had made a judgment about me at school, and it was a positive judgment that I was the school heartthrob. Actually, it might have been negative in so much that he was jealous, but he didn't come across like that. So we hung out at school. So that's a judgment. That's a perception of me, and so it's based on our perception of whatever is in front of us, and it doesn't matter what's in front of us. In shops, for example, when you go into a store or a shop, and salespeople come over and they're all pushy and want to try and sell you something, particularly things like, I don't know, real estate agents and all those kind of salespeople, doctors, refuse collectors, janitors. We've got a perception of each of these people, and we've got a kind of judgment that we make on each of these people, whether it's positive or negative. Salespeople in the shop or store sometimes comes across as negative. Estate agents, likewise. Or real estate agents, it's so nice when you come across a really good one that seems to be authentic and comes across in the best possible manner. But yes, we've got a perception of each of these people. And so each of these experiences with these people, we form a judgment on them. So you are judging me now based on what I'm showing you, what I'm talking about. And I don't know what that judgment is, whether it's a good perception or a negative perception. So either way, think about what's in front of you and how you're making a judgment and the perception of what it is that you're looking, reading, listening to, or seeing, because it all makes a big difference. Now, for each experience, hey, Delroy, good to see you. Right, so yeah, for each experience with those people, we form a judgment. Now, I've done an NLP course a few years back now, neuro linguistic programming, if you don't know what NLP stands for, and it's so powerful. There's an acronym called VACOG, which teaches you about each of the sensory powers that we have: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory and gustatory. Had to think about those then, but yeah, it's each of our senses and how we can use those. NLP teaches us how we can use those in, and particularly in perception and judgments and things around those kind of things. So it's about picking up on signals from what's in front of us, from the audience that we've got in front of us. If we're face to face, it's a lot easier because you've got all of the senses then that you can work with. If it's in text or content that you're putting out there for your marketing, it's slightly different, isn't it? So think about that. We can get it wrong sometimes, and that's absolutely fine. But if we're using our intuition with people and using what NLP calls the five senses, the VACOG, you can get much better, and giving across a good persona, good perception to other people will really help. And also picking up on other people's signals is really key, so that you learn to understand how they're feeling. It can be that some people disguise their feelings really well, but other people can't hide it. So actually, it's really challenging to understand people sometimes, but others are an open book, and it's really easy to understand them. So developing that intuition so that our perceptions get really better. You've probably, like me, met someone and taken an instant dislike to them for whatever reason. You just think, I don't like that person, or they kind of do something that makes you think that is not my kind of person. But then after a while, you might have changed your mind and actually got positive towards those people. And likewise, it might be that you've made a snap judgment and you really like someone for a while, but then all of a sudden something happens and you just think, I really misjudged that. And they're not my kind of people. So that's the kind of thing where we get perceptions incorrect, but it doesn't really matter, because obviously, we all make mistakes. It's not a problem as long as there's no malice or malicious intent in those relationships. And that perception doesn't really matter if you got it right or wrong. I'm going to put mute on in a second because I'm going to cough, but I want to tell you a story about going into a Mercedes showroom as well. Excuse me, just had a quick cough. And it was about, what year was it when I bought a Mercedes? It was a brand new car, and I'd got a lot of money as a young single man, and I'd saved lots of money, and I wanted a brand new Mercedes. So I went into a Mercedes showroom, much like I'm dressed now, shorts and a t-shirt. And you know what? They judged me, and they judged me incorrectly because nobody came over to me. Not one person came and spoke to me. I was with my brother, and we walked around the showroom for quite a while, opening doors, looking in, sitting in, and they just left us to it. And I just thought, this is absolutely terrible. And you know what? It didn't matter, because I wasn't ever going to give them my money from that showroom. I went to a completely different showroom and gave a different dealership the money. So absolutely fine. But their perception was, perhaps, I don't know, incorrectly, they might have been busy. They didn't look busy, but they didn't come over to me because I was, I don't know, mid 20s, maybe 30. And I wanted to buy a brand new car because I had the money, and I didn't think that I'd be judged. And their perception of me was obviously incorrect, that I couldn't afford any of the cars in the showroom. So think about when we make these snap judgments about perception. Now, spinning it on its head again to the marketing arena, and our audience have a perception of us. It doesn't matter what you're putting out there, whether it's good, it's bad, it's indifferent. They are right. Whatever their perception is, they're right. And we're wrong, because that is the paradox. We put stuff in front of them that we think is given a message, but when the message isn't received as we intended it, then obviously we're wrong and they're right, because they're the ones that are receiving it. And actually, if they think something different to our intention, then they're right and we're wrong. So think about that, how you put your content on your social media, in your emails, if you're in a traditional business, in the brick and mortars, or maybe you have flyers, adverts in newspapers, or whatever that is. However your content goes out there, it will give a perception of your business. So think about your marketing and think about how you come across as a business. Or actually, if you're a solopreneur or a single person with your business, then think about how you come across, because there's a perception of you as an individual as well as the business. So it doesn't matter what their opinion is, but we have to put out a message that gives off the right kind of vibe to them. So the other thing is, if if you think about your niche and your market, how can you stand out? And looking at the social media these days, it's all very samey. So think about how you stand out from the rest of the crowd in your market or in your niche. Because if you're very samey, then you're not going to stand out and nobody's going to buy from you necessarily, unless you've got a reputation, unless they specifically like something about you or they've bought from you before. How do you want to be seen as a business and as an individual? How do you want to be seen? The image that you want to portray, the messages that you're putting across and the content that you're putting out there. I'll specifically go into social media, for example, on Facebook. When you scroll your feed, how do you stand out from the others, and how are you going to resonate with the people that you're connected with and the audience that you're connected with? So the content that you put out there, are you perceived as a leader, as a manager, as a kind of guru, some authority? Do you have credibility or not? Are you flashy? Are you plain? I've seen people out there with dicky bows on and top hats so that they can stand out. Other people, I know one guy, he's pretty much, I don't know if the bottom half, I'm assuming the bottom half isn't naked, but he's covered in tattoos. And he's always got his top off, so he stands out for that reason. I'm not saying that that's a good perception or a bad perception or judgment that people will make on that, but he seems to be doing okay. He seems to be successful, so absolutely works for him. What's the credibility that you have and the authenticity that you come across with? Think about how you can come across to your audience so that you really stand out differently. Do you come across as an intelligent person, a really academic person, or just Joe Blogs that makes mistakes and you don't have much of a formal education? It doesn't really matter necessarily, but people will judge you and have a perception on you based on the education levels. And it's wrong, but these are the good stories that we hear about, where people that haven't had education formally and are not academic have done really well too. And that's a great success story. But that's not to say that other people don't judge them, because they do. It takes such a long time to create a reputation, doesn't it? But in minutes, it can be crushed. And that's what we've got to think about, is the perception of us needs a long time to build, and it could be really dismantled in a really short space of time if we're not doing the right thing. So think about your reputation also. Likewise, in our life, it's success is all about perception, isn't it? You could think that you aren't successful whatsoever, or you could think that you're highly successful, but it's all relative. For example, if you've got a six-figure income, you might think that is super successful, but to the millionaire or multimillionaire, it doesn't really matter to them that you're a six-figure earner, because that is small fry in comparison to them. It's all relative. And that's the perception of people's attitudes towards each other, because success actually is your own definition of it. You shouldn't look externally for the definition of success. Just look internally at what you've achieved and how you've progressed over the years, because that's the important part. It doesn't matter if someone's more wealthy than you or has a better academic background than you. Your success is based on yourself and where you've come from. But as I've said, think about the perception of how we come across to those. And the other thing is, how do we come across to those that we seek to help and that we are ultimately looking to make a sale with? Because if you're in business and you're marketing to your audience, then ultimately you need sales. If you're not making sales, you don't have a business, you just have a hobby. So what's the perception? How do you come across to those people? And are you coming across salesy, spammy, or are you coming across in a really authentic manner? Think about the outcome that you're searching for, but more so, think about the outcome for the person that you're actually trying to make the sale for as well. This is their solution, and this is their problem that you're trying to solve with your products or your service. So the other thing I was going to say is make sure that there's a call to action on each of your content too, a micro commitment from them to signal with your marketing that you want them to make a decision. And if you put in the message across in the right kind of way that's not salesy or spammy, then they may want to make a decision to click on something or follow your information for more information, follow your link for more information. Think about how you can move them in the direction, and the perception of what the content says should move them in that direction if they are the right kind of people and resonate with you. Yeah. So the perception is that they can't miss out on whatever it is that you have as well. That's the other thing, because if it's just like I said on your social media feed, if you don't stand out and you're not being differentiated from the rest of the world, then actually why should they make a commitment to buy from you? But what you've got to do is build a buzz, make sure that they see what you have, and so that they can't actually miss out on it. You need to give the perception that this is hot stuff. This is stuff that they absolutely need in their world and in their life. And you are bringing the solution to their challenges and their pain points. And the way I think about it is reverse engineering from the position that you're in with your content to the position that you want to put your audience in, and evoke emotions in those people that see your content. It might be that you've had something happen that's really emotional for you, and other people will resonate with that because they've had similar experiences as well. Like, I don't know, for example, I was at the birth of both of my children, and it's highly emotional. Now, you're not going to resonate if your audience is primarily like kids that are 20 that may not have had children. But if it's an older generation, you're going to resonate with them if you talk about children, because they may have been through that themselves. And so these are the kind of things about evoking emotions in your audience. Give them a perception that you are on the same wavelength with them. Yes, Delroy, scroll stopping headline. Absolutely. It's that hook. So think about how you feel when someone spams you link baths in your inbox, or in your emails, and pushes you somewhere that you don't actually want to go. And this is what the perception is of you when that happens to you. So think about your audience. When you are pushing something out there, if it's a surprise to them, then they're not going to be ready. They're not going to want to buy. But if you've built up to the fact that you're going to send them some information, or in a conversation with them, actually, can I just share this with you? I think it'll be of interest. No pressure. Just take a look and go softly, softly, build that relationship. And then the perception is that you're not salesy. You're not pitching to them. So this is definitely not the way to behave. Sending links out, spamming people, and just pitching them. That is definitely not the way to behave. And interestingly, I had someone in my messenger in Facebook about a week ago, Forex guy, and literally within 2 messages, we'd connected. He'd invited me to be a friend. I'd accepted. He'd said, "Hey, how's things going?" I'd replied saying, "Yeah, really good, thank you." As you do, just normally, like a normal conversation with a person that's face to face. And that's the point, isn't it? Why do people's personas change just because they're hiding behind Messenger? The keyboard warriors that think their behaviors can be whatever behind, the keyboard. But the third message from him was, because I always say, straight to business. What is it that you're doing in the online space? Because I'm moving into more business talk now. And his response was, da 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 da. Have you heard of it? My response was, because I knew exactly where this was going, was, no, I hadn't actually, never heard of it. His next response was to send me a link and just say, check it out. And I'm like, I didn't even ask for the link. I just asked a bit more about you. Tell me more about you and what it is you're doing in the online space. That didn't mean I want to go and watch a video of whatever it is you're promoting. So then I said back to him, I said, look, do you know anything about marketing? Maybe I could help you with marketing. And he came back and said, why would you say that? And I went back again and said, look, because, clearly I said I didn't know anything about what you were talking about, but that doesn't mean to say that I wanted a link then. So let's unpick what you did, and maybe, just some hints and tips for better results in future. So it was interesting, but I haven't checked my inbox to see if he's come back anyway, and come back with anything else. But anyway, what emotions do you want to put into your audience's mind? Doesn't matter whether it's face to face, in your emails, in your messenger like that, or on videos like this. What are the emotions that you want to evoke in them when you're having those conversations? That Forex guy evoked certain emotions with me. I wasn't angry about it. I just find it amusing now. But the emotions were, I closed down. I just knew exactly. You can see it a mile off when the sales are coming, and or the pitch is coming, and you just close off, don't you? Because you know exactly what happened. So remember the paradox of what you put out there How do you want to be remembered? By that first contact, by that fifth contact, that 20th contact, no matter how many touch points you've had with those people, what do you want to be remembered by? Excuse me, I'm going to cough again. Terrible cough. Anyway, so how do you want to be remembered? And the paradox is that whatever you put out there, the message receipt by the receiver needs to match what your intention was. And if you think you're saying something, but it's not received in the same manner, then they're right and you're wrong, no matter what. And final story before I dial off and let everybody get about their evening. My perception in the online marketing space. So I've been in the online arena now probably 2 years. Looked at it maybe 10 years ago, and actually I saw Russell Brunson on stage, one of the founders of ClickFunnels, around 10 years ago in a little place in the UK called Peterborough. And I thought, yeah, he knows his stuff. But at that time, I just wasn't ready, and I didn't get involved in the internet marketing revolution that was happening 10 years ago. So flip back to 2 years ago when I started getting involved, and it's more or less the same now, but it's just getting more obvious. It's getting more samey. The stuff on your feed is almost identical, isn't it, from most people that you see? So for me, I really want to stand out. I want to do things differently. I want to create a different kind of paradox. I want to create a different kind of marketing space. And you've probably noticed, I don't know if you have, but I'm doing a lot less posting on my social media. I'm doing a lot less on the front end, but the magic is there. It's happening. It's all happening in the back end. There's a lot more fruitful conversations going on in Messenger and face-to-face conversations in Messenger too. And yeah, it's working really well. Excuse me, another cough. And a quick slug of water. So the paradox I want to create, the perception paradox I want to create, is standing out, looking different, doing something different from everybody else that's out there, and changing what's on the feed. I just want to make sure that my feed looks different from everybody else's. And I'm not going to be controversial. I'm not going to be, wacky or whatever, but I'd like to think that the stuff that I'm putting out there is resonating with the right kind of people now, because the messages are landing much more. If you go back 6 months, I was having 300-400 likes and comments on each of my posts. I'd got a VA working for me. It was working super well. But majority of them were the good morning, folks, and have a great day, folks. A waste of their time, a waste of my time. Apart from priming the algorithm so that you get more engagement, I didn't need that kind of support. I want meaningful on my friends list. So this is why I jump more or less straight into direct conversations with people as early as possible about business and what the intentions are. I might buy from them, they might buy from me. Not a problem if neither of us buy from each other. We just maintain a friendship if we can. So the paradox is, I've put all of this into the Heat program, and there's going to be a Halloween special in 10 days time. The doors will open at 5 p.m. UK time, which is midday Eastern time. And there's going to be an amazing launch. I'm probably going to do a live a few days before the launch just to give more information on what it's all about. But the exact 9 steps and the blueprint to what I've worked out to get the results that I've got. And I go on calls within a few messages. Sometimes I go on a call immediately with someone within 2 or 3 messages and say, hey, you're free now, let's do it. We exchange ideas. We gain that trust. There's no pitch. There's no sales talk necessarily. But sometimes we have gone into a sales conversation or invited them into the group, or something's happened that moves that person through the sales pipeline. Things are working really slick at the moment, and this is why I don't spend half as much time on my social media, and I've packaged it all up into the Heat program. Heat stands for High End Affiliate Toolkit. Now, with high end, you usually think high cost, high investment, $5,000, $10,000 investment, but high end for the Heat program specifically means the quality. I've streamlined everything. I've bought into quite a few affiliate programs over the years and trainings, and probably spent, I don't know, ten to $15,000 on training and coaching. So what I've done in that last 2 years is condensed it all now. I've reverse engineered all of the process, and I've got it down to 9 steps. And I've put that into the heat program, and I really want to share that with everybody. And some of those examples will be in the heat program of how I've actually turned around sales within a really short space of time. So heat is the exact how-to program and blueprint. If someone asked you for $10,000, but within a year they'd return you $20,000, is that a good investment? 100% return on your investment in 1 year. Apart from Bitcoin and crypto, I don't know what else out there could do that potentially with little risk, because crypto is very risky as well. I know a lot of people that bought it the first time it hit $60,000, and then it went down to 30,000, didn't it? So they might have put the farm on that at 60,000 because people were telling them it was going to 200,000, but then it went down to 30,000. Did they get out, or did they hold their nerve? It's back to almost 60,000, I think, now. So these are the kind of things. But what I'm trying to say with heat is, I can't guarantee that kind of return. I can't guarantee 100% return, but what I can guarantee is that I will do everything in my power to help you get the return on the investment. And I'm not going to ask you for $10,000 either, but I closed out 5 spots in under 5 hours the first time I launched Heat, and that was in a beta launch. And it's high quality, high end regarding the quality, not the price of the investment. So I did it all for the beta launch as well. No fancy funnels. It was all done in documents and in videos, and no software, just Google Docs and things like that. And it was super, super slick. And it's even more slick now. I put it all into a nice membership area. And so it looks really good. And even if I do say so myself. But anyway, so there's going to be a live session in a couple of days ahead of the doors opening on the 30th, and then you can learn more about it on that live if you are interested. And even if you're not interested in buying the program, on the live I'm going to dive into the modules of what's contained within Heat anyway, so you will see the super slick process that I'm following now to make these sales in 5 slots in under 5 hours when the doors opened. I think that's good. But anyway, so it's a discounted investment price that you'll see when you watch the video in future in the next few days. But the absolute ecosystem is just crazy. It's going to blow your mind. But my perception is, the perception I want to give to you is the fact that you believe in it. And I don't need to sell it to you, because once you've seen what it is, you'll believe it yourself as well. So anyway, on that note, I'm almost at 30 minutes. I like to do this in about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, all of my videos. So I'm going to dial out, and hopefully you've got some golden nuggets from the paradox, the perception paradox even. Look out for the Heat pre-launch live that I'm going to be doing. And if you are interested, the doors will open on the 30th for 24 hours at a really heavily discounted price. If you're not interested, absolutely fine too. I don't do sales. I just put opportunities in front of people, and then it's entirely their choice whether they buy or not. Take care, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will catch up with you really soon.